that's an important thing. So you don't think that Kamala Harris would bring down prices?
No, it's not something that I was saying. My point was the fact that
ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering. America, welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. Ever since Kamala Harris became the installed designee of the Democratic Party for president, people have been asking her the same thing over and over again. It's the number one issue on voters' minds. What is your plan to get the economy back on the right track? And so far, all we've heard from Kamala Harris are empty words about opportunity economy, platitudes about a new way forward, and of course, a constant reminder that she was raised in a middle-class family.
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid.
I grew up a middle-class kid.
My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard.
My mother was hardworking. She raised me and my sister Maya.
She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager.
She saved up, and it was only by the time I was a teenager that she could afford to actually buy her first home.
Sounds awfully familiar.
And while it's all well and good that Kamala Harris grew up as a middle-class family and gives her story over and over again, what we don't have are the specifics, the details, where the devil is when it comes to creating an opportunity economy, whatever the hell that is, or for stopping price gouging in grocery stores, which is the subject of this video that involves Fox News' Sandra Smith interviewing Kelly Hyman, a Democratic strategist, trying to glean any information about Kamala Harris's plans for the economy. You thought you got word salad with Kamala Harris? Wait till you see this video. But before we get to it, I'm going to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the shows. And if you like what you're seeing here in this or any other video, smash that thumbs up button. Like, comment, share the show with your friends. All that really, really good stuff. Because all that's going to help grow the show via the YouTube algorithm.
Yes, that's it. Feed me.
Or, whatever the algorithm is wherever you're watching. Is it Rumble? Is it Odyssey? Is it BitChute? Is it the Twitters or X or whatever you want to call it? Wherever you are, we're glad you're here with us and helping the show grow. And to all you newbies out there who may have found us for the first time, I hope this video earns your subscription on whatever platform it may be as we look at this very curious and frankly hilarious interview by Fox News' Sandra Smith with a Kamala Harris surrogate.
Kelly, it was a great lead into this because we were discussing economic plans for the two candidates and how they differ. And you were explaining to me how Kamala Harris has a pitch to voters that will bring down prices that we should remind everyone ran up under her and Biden's administration. So what's the plan to tackle these prices like groceries up 25%?
Sick burn.
Oh, the framing of that question. I know we talk about the left-wing media all the time. Fox News is just as bad towards the left when you hear questions framed like that. How do you plan on bringing down prices that your previous administration created in the first place? Is it fair? Probably not. Is it delicious to watch someone on the left get a dose of their own medicine? Absolutely.
Well, there's a limited amount of things that the president of the United States can do. And ultimately, as the viewers know, and as you know, ultimately it's up to Congress. And so for all the congressional people that are watching, please make sure to help the American people and do something. But in regards to Harris's plan that she's laid out.
But that's an important thing. So you don't think that Kamala Harris would bring down prices?
Interesting counter question there. Kelly Hyman, who, by the way, is the author of a book called Build Back Better, the first 100 days of the Biden administration and beyond. So just so you know where she's coming from, doesn't want either Biden or Harris to take the blame for the rise in prices, for inflation, especially when it comes to grocery prices, gas prices, all the staples of life that we've been talking about here on the channel for weeks now. So Sandra Smith is calling Hyman on her own BS in deflecting blame from Biden or Harris for what happened to the economy. Let's see what the answer is.
No, it's not something that I was saying. My point was the fact that that ultimately Congress needs to act in order to help the American people. There are very limited things that the president can do. Having said that,
not sure that
Harris
pitch is
has
going to
laid
work
out
for voters. Sorry, guys, I can't do anything about it.
Oh, no, she did.
Savage.
All right, Sandra Smith is interrupting a little bit too much, and this is coming from me, who interrupts all the time in these clips, right? She is not giving Kelly Hyman any room to equivocate or deflect. She's calling her out on her BS at every moment she can because she knows she's not going to get an answer to her question about what is the plan from Kamala Harris to bring down prices. On the other side, Kelly Hyman is doing an amazing tap dance right now with her humana routine in avoiding any sort of blame or responsibility for the current state of the economy for Kamala Harris and by extension the Biden-Harris administration here. It's a battle of wits here, and I fear that Kelly Hyman is ill-prepared for such a battle.
Just to be clear, and I ran my brain room stats here, as I often do, and it's important to, highlight what has happened under a presidency. And when you look at...
And I think it's important to highlight what happened under Trump presidency.
Hold on. So just let me finish. So from the beginning of Biden-Harris's administration, since the day they took office to today, you've got energy prices up 32%.
Yikes.
Shelter costs, which includes homes and rents, up 23%.
Damn, my rent is $12,000 per month?
Auto insurance. Every time I say that, I know people at home are going, oh, my bills are crazy. Auto insurance up 56%.
Our insurance is shit.
And electricity's up 27%. If you're living on a fixed income in this country, it is brutal right now.
Stop! He's already dead.
So the question is, what is her economic plan? What is her pitch to voters to bring these prices down? Trump keeps giving interview after interview detailing exactly how he plans to do it. We're all just saying, what is her plan?
Well, first off, I would disagree with you in regards to Trump's plan. Let's discuss that, and I'm happy to go into hers as well. And I appreciate you. Please let me. I appreciate if you don't.
Loud noises!
Oh my. So Kelly Hyman has no interest in discussing Kamala Harris's plan whatsoever here. Sandra Smith doing her best to keep Kelly Hyman on track, but this is what these surrogates do. They don't want to talk about the bad things about their candidate. They want to deflect the bad and bring in the good, or do a whataboutism, which is what Kelly Hyman is trying to do here, trying to focus on Trump and what he may have done, what he didn't do, whatever the case may be here. It's normally a sound strategy for someone who's on the ropes. Let's see if she gets away with it.
Sandra, I would appreciate it if you just please give me the opportunity to speak.
And go ahead.
Damn!
And then Kelly Hyman turns into the victim, but Sandra Smith has none of it again.
She's like a total badass bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, Sandra Smith is a bulldog. Is she coming at this from a partisan point of view? Absolutely. But she's also being dogged in her determination to get an answer to her question. The question was long-winded and predicated on a bunch of facts and was certainly slanted to put Hyman on the defense. But at the same time, she's not putting up with Hyman's attempts to either play the victim, as you just saw, or to deflect from the question. Eventually, she does relent here, but with a snide remark that you don't normally see in interviews like this. But it's clear that Sandra Smith is not here to tolerate bullshit. And I appreciate that in an interviewer.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So first off, let's just talk about something, and then I will go back if I'm given the opportunity to discuss her plan as well. In regards, let's talk about Trump's plan. Trump's plan is to have tariffs. And that, I am not an economist. Economists have said that harms the consumers, that harms the American people. People can look at this online, that have to pay $3,500 more in regards to that. And not only does it affect consumers, but it also affects small businesses. They're going to have those costs as well. That's going to trickle down.
It seems like you're working off of
now, in regards to,
okay, what is Harris's plan? We're waiting.
Again, Sandra Smith's having none of it, but notice what Kelly Hyman did there. She didn't speak from authority. I'm not an economist, but I hear economists saying A, B, C, and D. Well, how reliable is that really? Is that really a strong retort from Kelly Hyman? I certainly don't think so. You speak from authority when you go on these shows. You have to be an expert. You have to be knowledgeable. You got to do your research. You got to prep. It feels like Kelly Hyman is not taking the time to make an effective argument against Donald Trump for Kamala Harris, even though that wasn't asked of her. But I think we're finally getting to the answer that Sandra Smith is looking for here. What in God's name is Kamala Harris's plan? Can we just get to it already?
There's a lot of aspects to it in regards to looking at it online. So let's talk about lowering the grocery costs, because that's something that's brought up. The viewers can look at this online. She talks about certain things in regards to advancing the first federal ban on price gouging on food and groceries, to set clear rules to the road to make it clear that big corporations can't unfairly exploit consumers as well.
Is that happening? Is that happening?
Well, we're waiting.
Could it not at this moment? No, this is her plan that's laid out for the first 100 days when she becomes president of the United States of America.
Gouging, is that currently happening?
Spit it out.
In regards to I don't know exactly if that's currently happening or not, because
She just went on a whole speech about price gouging in grocery stores and doesn't even know whether or not that's happening or not. Again, she's not an economist. She doesn't know what that is. Kelly Hyman's talking out of her ass here. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to do a little bit of a deep dive. I'm not an economist either, but I have seen some economists on TV talking about price gouging in grocery stores. Let's get to that for a second, then we'll return to Kelly Hyman here. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. So to be as generous as possible to Kelly Hyman, I found this clip from CNBC featuring former SEC Chair Jay Claxton in a panel discussion over price gouging, price controls. Let's get an education on this topic from them.
What are price controls? They're the government setting prices. When you're taxing unrealized gain, who decides the price? Right. I mean, we have a market price in the market, but
immediately
the government does.
Because of the backlash from the right and left, they immediately tacked to say that it's not about price controls. It's an anti-gouging.
That was nonsense.
I know.
Okay, so first off, when they're talking about price gouging in supermarkets, it's another way for government to say they need to establish price controls. It's quite Marxist when you think about it. It's definitely anti-open market, where the market sets the price on goods and services. So clearly, we're talking about a policy that is straight out of a communist handbook, I would say, at least that's just my opinion here, that is suppressing the open market in setting prices based upon region, based upon product, based upon competition. So let's continue on.
But what it really was a way to try to deflect what caused the inflation. And you can say it was a pandemic and reopening. You can say whatever you want. But there was definitely some fire or some fuel thrown, some gasoline thrown on the post-pandemic environment from all the stimulus.
And I heard your interview with Elizabeth Warren. It was fantastic. One of the things that she always fails to recognize is that markets are more competitive today than they ever have been because the ability to look at prices. You know, I can look at
the internet. Yeah.
The internet on my phone. I'm driving down the highway. I can look at the 5 gas stations that are within 30 miles and go to the lowest cost one.
So very interesting, and I agree with you when it comes to gas stations. I don't agree in the same way about supermarkets. I'm actually curious where you land on that, because the supermarket space is becoming increasingly consolidated. There's a real question as to what the pricing that's happening at supermarkets really is. I think by the way, there's been a lot of idiosyncratic issues. Joe brought up with Elizabeth Warren the issues of the real issues around egg pricing and other things. But having said that, the consolidation of the stores themselves has made it pricing a more complicated topic. I think that's
for supermarkets. There's still.
I looked at this because you made this point last time I was on.
It's Walmart and Amazon now. I mean, Kroger and Albertsons. That's not where the problem is.
Well, that's the question.
So I did a little research on this prior to taping the show. Kroger's and Albertsons, 2 large supermarket chains, are looking to merge to create an even larger chain, and the Biden-Harris administration is trying to examine whether or not that should happen. In fact, I believe there is litigation going on, antitrust litigation, claiming that this merger would create much less competition, create monopolies, could create, price domination and end up resulting in higher prices. I'm not necessarily against government looking out for killing competition, mergers, monopolies. We all learned about it in school, the robber barons of their time and all of that. I think government has a role in making sure that there's a fair and even playing field in that respect. But price controls or price gouging is sort of the opposite of that. It's government dictating to markets what prices should be, not making sure that competition remains healthy and fervent between those in a given industry.
And the Costco's.
Right.
I mean, you go out to the we shop at the Costco in Brooklyn.
Yep.
It's an I mean, the amount of volume that gets driven through there, therefore driving prices lower, and the amount of people who are there shopping, it is remarkable. I looked at the inflation around grocery stores pre-pandemic. The prices were coming down for the
If you enforce monopoly laws and antitrust laws, doesn't the market take care of someone trying to gouge?
Well, that's
almost immediately.
And the question is whether they are.
Let me tell you the industries that bother me where you can't see prices.
Instead of actually
education.
Right.
Education,
healthcare. We can go through the list.
They're the ones where government is involved.
And that's a great point by Claxton. When government becomes a market participant in healthcare, in education, what happens to prices? They go up. We've mentioned on this show, what happened when government started giving out free money for college tuition? College tuitions went up. What happens when government gets involved in education or healthcare? Healthcare prices have gone up. I know that my healthcare bills have certainly gone up over recent time. Inflation happens when government tries to control the economy to such a detriment that prices necessarily keep going up, especially when government becomes a market participant. Let's now take this discussion and bring it to grocery stores and price gouging. If you look at the industry right now, you would see that inflation has been outpacing grocery stores' profit margins. So while prices are going up, they haven't been going up to the point where these supermarkets are taking advantage of consumers and blaming it on inflation. We haven't seen that in that industry. So when Kamala Harris or Kelly Hyman starts talking about price gouging and controlling supermarkets as part of their economic plan, you already see the disaster that lies ahead. And speaking of disasters, let's get back to Kelly Hyman's interview.
Gouging, is that currently happening?
In regards to I don't know exactly if that's currently happening or not, because I'm not privy to that type of information. Okay. But there are people are costing a lot of money in regards to groceries.
Okay. It seems like you're having a hard time articulating your plan. And
I'm not. Honestly, that's not true. Please, I'm constantly being interrupted by you, which, as a woman, I think is disrespectful. When I'm trying to speak, every time I try and speak, you speak over me.
Well, it's oppressive.
Typical liberal bullshit. Kelly Hyman doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. She clearly doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. We just saw some people who knew what the hell they were talking about, and it didn't sound like Kelly Hyman saying, well, I don't know if this is going on, but I've heard things from people, and people say this, and if you look on the website, you'll see that this is a problem, and all the other nonsense coming out of her mouth. She is, I'm grabbing from my book right now, and I'm trying to find it. Is there one nearby? There isn't one nearby, so I'm just going to wing it here and say that this is the sort of BS buffoon that I talk about in my book, Schnooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, that's available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. The BS buffoon, as I talk about in my book, is the overconfident, underprepared buffoon. The person that thinks they know what they're talking about, but when the pressure is put on and the spotlight is on them, they underperform. They don't know what to say. They stammer. They stutter. They're exposed for not being an expert, for not having the knowledge base that they're supposed to have at this certain level. Sandra Smith has certainly exposed Kelly Hyman in this respect when it comes to Kamala Harris's plans for the economy, and specifically with this price gouging control for grocery stores. Let's see if she can redeem herself here in the end.
Okay, final thought.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, I was giving you time there. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, and I appreciate you as well for not providing an answer in any respect whatsoever.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. God have mercy on your soul.
I don't know exactly what I was expecting from Kelly Hyman here. Her candidate that puts her out on these interviews can't explain her own policies. So why should I expect her surrogates to go out there and explain her own policies? But if there's something on the website, as Kelly Hyman kept referring to, you would think she would point to that website, or at least, I don't know, memorize those points on the website and explain what those points are and be prepared to explain them. If she has a follow-up question, you can easily deflect from a follow-up, but at least put the initial premise out there. Unfortunately for Kelly Hyman, she didn't have the go-to line from the Harris campaign. She couldn't explain that Kamala Harris was raised by a single mother in a middle-class family. Well, listen, that's my opinion. Do you think we're ever going to get any details from Kamala Harris's campaign? Let me know in the comments what you think about this. And as always, like and share the video with your friends, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows here. I'm very interested in the Kamala Harris economic plan, mainly because she's not giving it to us at this point. I'd like to talk about it with you in the comments, but apparently nobody knows what it is, so let's try to have a discussion about economics in general, as well as all the other shenanigans and buffoonery happening every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.